All right, how's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay?
Pretty good.
So far, so good.
Good. All right, so the topic that we're going to talk about is coordination review. Some of you may think, oh no, or some of you might think, what is that? Or some of you might think, I think I've ignored that box a few times. The whole point of this is to, I got with Braden, I let him know how important this is, especially more so for MEP folks working in Revit, because they're the ones that typically copy monitor the architect or the structural engineer or the site items the most. Architectural does copy monitor things. I'm not going to go through today on how to copy monitor and why you would copy monitor things. If you'd like to know more, please reach out to myself or Howard or shoot me a message and we can go over that separately. Usually, the grids and the levels are the first things to be copy monitored in every project. Usually from the architectural file because structure isn't involved or that early or something. So it all depends on the project. Like grids are usually started in architectural just so they can kind of move things around and get locations to the edge of slabs and things. And then at some point, structural engineer will come on board and either the architect will give them their grids and let them control them, which means we would then copy monitor them and take them out of our model. Or sometimes the structural engineer is okay with just leaving them in the architectural model. It depends. So my first question is, and bonus points if someone chimes in, who knows what a coordination review is? Any idea?
A view with
Somebody-
all the disciplines.
Kinda, yeah. Anybody else?
I think it's when you're reviewing to make sure that the things that you've copy monitored into your model haven't shifted.
You know what, Braden, she gets a cookie, a big cookie. So I've asked this question to several engineers in my past using Revit, and funny thing is, usually there isn't one person that gets it right. So Taylor, good job. I think that's a perfect explanation. It's basically something that you copy monitored. You want to be kept abreast as to whether or not it changes, right? Otherwise, why would you copy monitor it in the first place, right? So you guys copy monitor grids and levels. Those are the big ones. And then sometimes you'll copy monitor plumbing fixtures. And if you're gonna copy monitor a plumbing fixture, you probably want to know if it moves, right? And instead of having an architect call you up every time they shift something 4 inches this way or remove it or rename it or change the family or whatever the case may be, the easiest thing to do is just to run a coordination review. And Revit makes it super easy because anytime you ever save to central or reload an architectural file, or at the very beginning of the day you open up your MEP file, you'll get a nice little box. Usually when you open it up, you'll have a little box that says coordination review. And I've been doing this a long time and working with a lot of full service firms. And every single time I see this happen where somebody will say, oh, I'm going to close it. Just close it, cancel it. Don't worry about it right now. Don't know what it is. Don't want to worry about it. It's actually super, super important. It's one of the most important things that you can do when you're working in Revit files. If that coordination review message comes up, do yourself a favor and deal with it immediately, because there are several different things that happen. I've seen it happen. Autodesk doesn't explain it on their site. They don't do a real good job with it. But it happens. If a particular element, like a level, changes more than once, sometimes more than twice, before the MEP model has had the coordination review ran, it loses its functionality. It'll automatically go to postpone, and I'll touch on that here in a second. And you'll try to run the coordination review later, and the only option you will have at that point will be postpone. You won't be able to reconcile it at all. And that's a problem. I mean, it's easy to fix, but who wants to continuously unmonitor and recopy monitor stuff? I know I don't. I'm sure you don't either. So it's really important that you make sure you run those things. And it could run a gamut of things. So for instance, while this is saving finally, Levels renamed, deleted, shifted, plumbing fixtures shifted, deleted, grids moved, deleted, renamed, any of that stuff. Well, once you run this coordination review, it'll let you know what exactly moved and or changed and give you options to deal with it. Now, while this is saving, once this is saved, I got to save the MEP model, so we should be able to see the coordination review pop up. I want you to focus on this level down here. This is Blackfeet. Didn't pick it to poke fun or pick apart or anything. It was just one that actually happened to have some coordination review warning pop up right when I opened it. So I'm just adding another one to it because the one that popped up was a fixture element, I believe. So we'll address that one as well. It won't be as easy to show, but so there's a few options that you have when you run this copy monitor review or coordination review. One of them is reject, which I hope you never, ever do, because I've never had that option ever come back and update you again. Now, maybe that's what it's supposed to do, but that's not what it does. REVIT, Autodesk REVIT help wiki basically says the reject will acknowledge the difference in the models, but leave the local model alone because the linked model may be wrong. In my experience, I've never been able to find a time when it would ever come up and tell you again, hey, you need to review this again to make sure if you haven't touched it in a while. It just leaves it. So let's say it's a level and the level moves 10 feet. Big deal, right? If you reject it and then you never revisit it again, your level is constantly, continuously, and always going to be 10 feet off from where the architectural model is. And that's not good at all. Zach, you can attest to that with the Cheyenne stuff. Postpone is another one. Postpone acknowledges the difference between the item in the linked out model and the current model, but postpone any action until more information is gathered about the difference. Again, it's the same thing almost as reject. It doesn't sound as final, but it's also going to push that off and allow you to continue working, and you will forget about it if you don't remember to go coordination review, check it again. The only way that you might remember, and this is from personal experience, is every week making sure when you open up your first model, running the coordination review manually first every time. Because unless something else has changed, you're not going to get the warning box that pops up. So keep that in mind. That's a big one. Modify is the one that we really, really want to use. And since it's mostly fixtures shifting, moving, deleted, levels, and other datum things happening, grids, usually it's pretty safe to just accept all these all the time. Now there may be some situations you kind of want to review it to make sure, hey, yeah, that makes sense before you just blanketly accept it, and so that way you can bring it up to the architect if and when that happens. But I think for the majority of the time you're going to want to go ahead and accept those. The fixture ones I would take a little bit more time, just to make sure that you guys are understanding what's going on, because it might change your piping system, it might change your system classification, it might, there's many other things that it could change. The fourth out of 5 is delete. It'll delete the companion item in the local model. You don't really want to do that unless you're going ahead and clicking the modify, and that's what it wants to do, letting you know that something was removed, and it'll remove it out of your model. Again, that's another one that you try not to pick it by itself. Usually modify will do it and let you know automatically what should be done and let you accept it. So as I'm seeing this finish, I'm going to reload the architectural model, and you'll see what I'm talking about when that coordination review window pops up if you're not used to seeing it. And then the last and not least is the accept difference. This acknowledges the difference between the local model and linked model. Make no changes to the local model. Basically what you're saying with that issue is, yep, I don't care if it's the same, just forget about it. That's really dangerous, because if you didn't review it properly or didn't take the time to review it, that copy monitor is forever forgotten. So you'll never get another message that something changed. So you really don't want to see that. I know in the several models that I've worked in over the years, the worst part has been getting into a model, getting a coordination review, finding there's extra things that changed beforehand, that the only option it gives you is postpone or accept difference. Because at that point, you kind of have to uncopy monitor it. You have to move it into place or delete it from your model, go back and do the copy monitor on the same item again from the architectural or structural model. And that's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. Does anybody have any questions so far? I mean, has everybody used to seeing that? Has anybody seen that message and kind of just disregarded it or didn't think much about it?
I definitely have.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, go ahead.
So I guess I just kind of wanted to jump into one thing that I noticed on one of the projects when I was doing some copy monitoring, and I don't want to say I'm refusing to do the coordination review, but essentially if I do it, it messes up all my plumbing fixtures. I don't know if it's something with an architectural, the way that was set up, but basically when I went, this is COVID in particular, when I went to copy monitor my fixtures there, initially some of them would come at an elevation 100 feet below, which made me think that the levels weren't copy monitored. So that was my first, I guess, qualm, where I had to basically move a bunch of my fixtures 100 feet up in order for them to be in the correct location. So I've had that error come up. And then the other thing is when I've done some of these copy monitors on some of the fixtures in that model, they've come in either backwards or sideways. So that gives me the coordination review error for every single fixture, and it wants me to move it every single one. So I guess in that instance, would I accept the difference because I've had to manually move them so that they align with the architectural background and the architectural fixture itself? And if I do go through the coordination review and accept all those, it changes them and pushes them way off the wall and drops them 100 feet. So I'm just kind of curious on when would there be a time to, I guess, maybe look back at that and either accept difference versus changing it along with the coordination review?
Great question. I'm glad you brought this up. Been there, done that, seen it. I will tell you right off the bat, if that ever happens again, stop what you're doing, call me.
Okay.
Because that means that the template, the MEP template that was used to create that project is not in the same location as the architectural one. That's why coordination review is important. And if you see that it messes things up like that, that should be your first clue that something isn't right with the location. So get a hold of me or Howard or somebody. There's a lot that goes into that. I won't touch on everything right now, but basically the main gist of it is if the templates are not aligned, at least from a base point, internal origin survey point of view, which I'm looking at this myself, you can run into those errors where they're 100 feet below. The other issue is the families themselves. We found an issue just before Christmas, actually, where I had to change one of the architectural families, the ADA toilet with the grab bars, because of how things copy monitor. It was shifting over, and it was also dropping all the way to the first floor, or down to the main 0 level. And the reason for that is because that copy monitor is based on the family origins, both MEP and architectural. If the architectural element that you are copy monitoring, which obviously you don't run into that with grids and levels because there's no origin to it. They're system families and you can't change it. They're based on the origin of the project. If you copy monitor a level and it's way down below where it should be, that's another clue that the template file or the project file that you're in is not set up right. Now, I will tell you this, it is easy to fix, relatively easy to fix, depending on how much work has been done. So the sooner you run into that, the better to let somebody know. I would highly suggest to never accept difference unless you're in a time crunch and you just got to print something. But even if you did do that, you have to let somebody know, like myself, Howard, whoever, so that way we can get in and fix it immediately after the printing. Because it's just going to continue to wreak havoc on your projects from that point on. And you really don't want to have to worry about it. I mean, the whole point of it is you don't want to have to worry about stuff coming in wrong. So some of that is going to be some communication between yourselves and myself, or Jeff or Howard or somebody on the architectural MEP side, so I can know about it, because that means that family has to be updated. And without going too much into the weeds, it's basically what kind of a hosted family it is. And if it's not the right type, if it's work plane based, it's going to jump all the way down to the main floor level because especially if you do it without copy monitoring levels, it's going to just jump to that lower level immediately.
Okay.
So if you do see that, let me know because again, 99.9% of the time, it's either the project location is not correct or the same as the architectural as it relates to the internal origin, or
Okay.
it's a family issue. So, to let me know, I could get in and take a look and see what's going on. Like I said, that ADA fixture has been fixed now in our template, although you may still run into that with other projects. And if you do, just let me know. And I'll ask the architectural folks to reload the latest family, and it's going to shift on them by about 1'6", and they're going to have to go shift all those over 1'6" to fix it. But it is what it is. That will fix the problem with those.
Okay. And then, sorry.
The main wall, the non-ADA toilet should not have any problem at all. That one works perfectly fine, and that was the one that let me understand what was going on. So if you shouldn't have any problems with that at all with copy monitor, unless your project isn't in the same location related to the internal origin.
Okay,
good question.
So then, I guess kind of basing still off that question. So would that also affect the orientation of, just because I've had some fixtures, particular some lavatories where I copy monitor and they come in backwards or like rotated 180, and then I would still get that coordination review error. And like I didn't accept the differences because I went through it one time and actually clicked all the buttons to move them all, and then I realized crap, it just went back to how it came in. So I had to manually go back through to line them back up. But I guess that's
100
issue.
Yep, that's 100% a family issue. So I've seen that happen. You guys probably don't run into this as much as we do architecturally, but when somebody comes to me for an example and says, hey, we've got a project that's restarting, or we've got a project that has been sitting for 3 months and now they've got funding, and or 3 years, and now we've got to get in and make use of the existing model. I would prefer, if it's not a huge problem, to completely remodel the new building myself in the new template, because it saves a ton of hassle. The reason for that is because there is a lot of old standards from the architectural template that are still peeking their heads out, and it's terrible. One of them obviously is browser issues, but the other one, the big one, is families. So there's a lot of the old 7th-gen family stuff that came from Deacon Hammond that Eric spent time working on that's still being used today, that was not hosted properly. It was either using a floor or a wall or a level, or it was work plane based, and it creates problems like that. That's when it wants to rotate on you, because its origin and its host is different than the family you're trying to use to copy monitor it with.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's always another thing you should reach out to me right away, because we can get that fixed relatively quick. It's 9 times out of 10, it's an old family. And if the architect's got to fix it to make it work for you guys, I don't want you guys jumping through hoops to deal with something that is broken in the architectural model. I want to make sure that people are using the right families in the right time. I've got to stop having people go back to old projects and grabbing them using manufactured content. I'm working on content catalog. I don't get a lot of time on it. I really wish I could have more time to get it situated so people know what they're supposed to use. I will tell you this. If you ever try to copy monitor a family within REVIT and it does not have an all caps 2-letter prefix with an underscore, I guarantee you it's not one that's in our library that should be used. So let me know. Let the PA know. Just say, hey, let Jason know this family needs to be replaced. Like I said, anytime you see it, you should deal with it right away. Please, even if you've got prints going out the next day, that's even more reason to, because that means that your prints may not match architectural elevations or sections or floor plans even. So once this, I'm only going to wait here for another minute or so, and if it doesn't finish, Braden, I'll just record it separately and then share it with the group. Nope, here we go. Good. All right, so this is the MEP file. I'm going to go to the 3D view. That's usually where I do my coordination reviews. Usually if you hover over any model and there's the coordination review to be done, when you click on it, this button will pop up. If you don't see this button, it means nothing has changed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the coordination review, and you'll see here the list of things that's going on. So these are postponed things. This is one that makes me nervous because if it doesn't allow me to remove it, oh, good. Okay, so yeah, so see how these three right here say do nothing, reject, or accept difference. We got to find out what that is and deal with it. Unmonitor it, remonitor it. So I'll deal with that myself. I'll get into this after. The element ID is right there, so I should be able to find it. Plumbing fixtures. Looks like there's a couple that were deleted. I'm going to go ahead and copy again. The other thing you can hold, doesn't matter if you select everything. This is really fast. If you just select all these guys and I go all the way down to the bottom and hold shift, and then I come over and just pick one and do a pull down, always pick this bottom one, and anything that can be fixed automatically will. I'm going to hit the apply, and anything that's left over is something that you have to still deal with. So it doesn't matter that this says move instance of fixture, rename. It doesn't matter. It's that bottom. It knows enough to know when you select that bottom option, it's going to make the change to whatever was changed. So name, level, postpone, or renamed or deleted. So now we're just left with these guys, and I'll go in and deal with these. Anybody have any questions? That was pretty much it, Braden. I got through all of it.
Okay.
So if you guys all want to see some more of this in the future, or if you just want to call me when you run into it and I can walk you through it, or Howard even, just let us know.
There's also a document I posted in the chat. There's a document in our master SOPs folder that walks through this. We are tweaking that document, but it should address everything that he's talked about.
Yep. One last thing, and I'll let you all go. It can monitor the coordination monitor. Just to summarize, it can pop up if a monitored element is changed, moved, or deleted, and or a hosted element, meaning a door, window, or opening, is added, moved, or changed, or deleted in a copy monitored wall or floor. So you can always use it for that as well if you're trying to make sure you know when a window moves.